Hey everyone, this is Dr. Walker. We are going to go over video 218. It is called the Electron Volt. If there's one thing that you remember from this video, is that the electron volt is a unit for energy. Just remember that, and then you'll be good. So let's just talk about what is the electron volt. The electron volt is the kinetic energy gained by an electron or a proton accelerated through a potential difference of 1 volt. So what we're saying is if we have a charge, and in this case we have an electron, doesn't matter what it is, so let's say that we're going to have a negative here and a positive here, just so that our electron can move to the right. And let's assume that we have a 1 volt potential difference, so delta V is 1 volt. So we can just assume this is 0 volts for the negative plate on the left and 1 volt for the positive plate on the right. So we know that the electric field goes to the left and that the electron naturally wants to go to the right. The force on the electron is to the right. So we know that it's going to gain kinetic energy, as we learned in the previous video. So what this is saying is how much energy does it gain if it goes through a potential difference of 1 volt? And the answer is 1 electron volt of energy. So we just need to talk about what this unit is and how we get to it. So we know the equation for changing kinetic energy is negative Q delta V. So all we have to do is plug in what we know for each variable and see what happens. So we have the negative here. The charge of an electron, we're talking about an electron here, is negative E, right? The electron has a negative charge. And then the potential difference is 1 volt. It's positive. It's going from negative to positive. So it's positive. It's 1 volt. So you can see what happens. You have a negative times 1 times E times V, and that's how you get 1 EV. So it's just a unit for energy. You could do it for a proton as well. The difference with a proton would be that the proton would move to the left. It would move towards a lower potential. So the charge would be positive, but the potential difference would be negative, and it would still be 1 EV of energy for a proton. So that's really the most important thing to understand, is the electron volt is a unit for energy. It tells us this amount of energy that your electron or proton gains when accelerated through 1 volt. There is a conversion, since the standard unit for energy is joule. If you want to convert from electron volts to joules or vice versa, here is the conversion factor that 1 EV is 1.6 times 10 to the 19 times 10 to the negative 19 joules. So just to emphasize it one more time, the electron volt is a unit of energy. And we'll see in the example video why it's a useful unit. Why don't we just stick with joules? So I will see you then.